Welcome back. I'm still in recovery from game one, a 43-minute banger, admittedly, that left me with more than a few heart palpitations. Don't worry, I checked my blood pressure during the break. I'm fine. We are back with TJ as my co-caster, and we are about to get into game number 2 of TSM A versus Solafide. TJ, how are you feeling about game number 1 now that we've had like 10 minutes to breathe?
That was 10 minutes? Kind of whizzed by, Matt. Yeah, game number 1 was terrifying. Because it was this weird mix of all the players are firing on all cylinders, these teams are both playing really good games, and then they would have these like individual team fights where you'd be like, wait, what are you doing? Where did this come from? So it's this weird mix, and you oftentimes get this in amateur, of this is very clearly, both these rosters are very clearly powerful stacked rosters that have an ideal play state they are aware of and trying to play to, and neither of them can quite do it 100% of the time. So when everything lines up, they're terrifying. When Solafide randomly wander underneath a turret while leaving no vision in the jungle, and Sword's able to get behind them and knock them all underneath the turret, then Solafide don't look so good. And it's this weird combination. I think the TSM Academy equivalent of that is, hey, they sure do have two really good carries between Sword and Cody-san, and they sure can never support both of them in a fight at the same time.
Yeah, I think I want to cheer up though, TJ, because that game number 1 was just like, oh, they're doing it. Oh, they are not doing it for both teams simultaneously. So I want to take a look at the bright spots that we had. Solafide, number 1, I think they did a significantly better job of understanding what TSM's traditional game plan is and playing their macro around that. They know TSM don't go for those first 2 dragons all that often. They immediately gun for them.
Yeah, so Solafide did 2 really good things that I think spoke of their research. They contested the second Rift Herald, and like you said, they focused down on those first couple of drakes. And both of those indicate, hey, we've done a whole lot of research, we've gone back, we've reviewed the VODs. TSM always ignore the first couple of drakes to go for those Rift Heralds. Let's punish that. But also during that early game, lest we forget, TSM started things off by getting blown out of the jungle on level 1, and then bounced back because they had this really weird and cool lane swap that earned them so much gold. That was the reason Cody-san then was a terror in the mid-late game, was because of that lane swap and because of how much gold he got off of it, because they were able to get like 3 free plays.
Yeah, after the level 1, I was pretty sure it was a doomed game for TSM, because that was really not a good look. The AD carries 1, 0, and 1 immediately off of level 1. From there, you can tend to snowball the game pretty hard, but the lane swap was really a stroke of brilliance there, because, like you said, allowed Cody-san to catch up. And I think for the few flaws we pointed out for TSM, one thing I want to argue is a strength, is that, yeah, Sword and Cody-san couldn't be supported simultaneously, but Sword recognized that he was just not going to live through those fights, and instead said, you know what? If I'm not going to live, I'm going to go out fighting. Dive into the back of the fights, misposition as many people as possible, and pump out his entire kit's worth of damage, playing his ear as the burstiest mid laner I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was weird that Sword consistently was doing that, but you look at the fights and it makes sense, because Sword wasn't being given the tools to survive. And I think that is maybe something to hang our hat on going into game number 2. Hunter, I would in particular, I don't want to blame him for that, but it didn't look like come late game that Sion was giving him the tools to actually engage on anyone. And I want to see him maybe on something that does provide him those options. Solafide don't, that's why they ban out the Renekton. We also did have Sword win a mid game on Renekton this season, so wanted to shout that out. First pick will be Udyr, yet again presumably handed over to Babip. And on the other side, Solafide start things off with the Alistar in Zazul's pocket, where he looked terrifying during game 1, and it is a full run back, Matt. Literally nothing has changed.
They changed it. They solved it. It's the J.J. Abrams of draft. They found one thing to change from the originals, and it's brand new, I swear.
Solafide hovering. Everything. Nope. Okay.
Never mind. It's the Blizzard of remakes. Just the same thing, but worse.
Good lord, Matt. Okay. Did you know that J.J. Abrams actually owns a stake of Blizzard?
No.
Makes sense, doesn't it? Solafide will get into their second ban phase, with everything literally being exactly the same. This is pick for pick the same draft so far. This is okay, though, because the parts of this draft that we had critiques of were we wanted to see Cody Sun. I said on a more traditional scaling carry, I cited something along the lines of the Jinx, something along the lines of the Kai'Sa that can just sit there and be a serious teamfight threat by itself, doesn't need everyone to back him up. Could even see the Xayah if the Ezreal was picked because of the survivability, because you need someone to keep you alive, and Cody Sun doesn't yet feel like there is that over on TSM Academy. One, I disagree. Fizzy was playing nuts that game. But two, give me a Xayah. That's also in the matter right now. Kai'Sa has been banned out. Minor correction.
I am really hoping this is not a full run back, because I remember what happened when it was CLG versus SKT at MSI. It didn't go great. Didn't go fantastically with the full draft run back, but here it is.
Is that the only run back you can cite?
It was an exact run back of the draft. Literally every single pick, every single ban was the same. I'm sure it's happened more times, but that's the one I remember.
Madam, Cody Sun's listening to me.
Oh, man!
Jinx will come through. Okay, so this is exactly what I was looking for. I'm not a huge fan of the Sion again, but it certainly wasn't a problem. The Jinx is exactly what I was calling for, because with the bans that have come through, this is the hard-scaling solo teamfight carry that TSM felt like they were missing. As long as they can keep this Jinx safe, they will have more damage in teamfights. They will be able to play to Cody Sun, which is what our guest was asking for as well. On the opposite side, though, this is a popular counter pick into Jinx right now in Amateur. Apollo has certainly seen it and run it versus Barrage. And I actually quite like this, because the Varus will enable him to match range and also be able to be, again, a single target just burn during these team fights.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I'm liking the change-up in the draft here, especially for TSM Academy. I don't know if I think this is strictly better for Solafide, but I think this is a more interesting draft for me coming out of Game 1. These adaptations are things that I'm enjoying.
Yeah, I think this is a better draft for TSM, because Ezreal to Jinx is a flat upgrade for me. I called for it during Game 1. The markers for me are going to be whether or not TSM's playstyle shifts to be more about Cody Sun. Like, they again have this really... Their composition is this really simple front-to-back team fight comp, right? You have Udyr, you have Braum, they sit in the front lines, the Jinx, Azir sit behind that and Free Fire, and you win every team fight. But what was happening was that wasn't how the team fights were being played. Babip was constantly deep diving, and then they would try to support Babip, and they would find this really aggressive shove, and that wasn't working out for TSM, because by that time, when they were playing so far forward, Sword would get caught out, get focused, have to dive backline, it would get all weird. So if that changes during this game too, then I think they win these team fights, they win this game very easily. Solafide can recreate that, though. They can recreate that chaos between the Gragas, the Orianna, and the Alistar, all of which have really good disruption capabilities, and all of which we saw disrupting.
Yeah. Well, I think it's an interesting change here, because yes, Cody Sun can be played to more. Yes, Cody Sun can pop off more, but you're also in a lot more danger as the Jinx compared to the Ezreal. Ezreal always has a way out. Flash, Arcane Shift, just don't get into the fight in the first place. But Cody Sun is now going to have less maneuverability options, and we saw Zeyzal that entire Game 1 go for these insane engages, catching even like 4 or 5 people in a few of his pulverize.
It was such a good... I came into this game a little bit soft on Zeyzal. He has had an alright season, but it hasn't been what we expect from Zeyzal. That was such a good Zeyzal game, Matt.
Yeah. I mean, like I was saying, he finds these crazy engages, and now Cody Sun may be subject to them. That's the danger.
I cannot take my hand off of the intersect of Braum and Gragas' hand. I cannot take my eyes off of that. It does not look right.
That is messed up looking.
Yeah, because like the hand kind of continues out of the Braum because of the shading on Gragas' knuckles.
He's got 2 thumbs. That's what it is. That's what it looks like, TJ. Braum's got 2 thumbs now.
That's how he holds that big shield. Welcome to game number 2. TSM Academy taking to the Rift for the second time, now up against series points. Solafide looking to make TSM Academy the second Academy team knocked down to the lower bracket.
Okay, I'm going to say it. I was waiting, I was thinking, I was mulling it over. Caster bias, let's go. I want to see NA Amateur knock down more Academy teams. I want them to know it's even footing now. It's an even playing field. Let's go.
What a shot across the bow it would be if both Academy teams went out of UGP.
Well, because we saw this already with Golden Guardians. This is exactly what happened to them.
They played in Cup, which is Challengers Uprising, the tournament we were casting prior to this. And they didn't do so great. We are fantasizing a little bit ahead of ourselves, though. CLG, of course, are not out of the tournament. They are in the lower bracket. They will be playing Maryville on our B stream. That's over at twitch.tv/Upsurge Esports, if you would like to catch that game, starting around 8:30 EST.
I am hopeful for Solafide, though, because like we said earlier, they show a really good understanding of TSM's usual game plan. And TSM, outside of the lane swap, didn't really deviate from it a whole lot. I would have liked to see them say, okay...
That lane swap, though!
Yeah, the lane swap was really good. But I would have liked to see a little bit more adaptation in the game, being like, okay, we may need to start prioritizing these objectives a little bit more. Because it very nearly was straight up 4 dragons in a row for Solafide.
Yeah. And it looked really good for Solafide out of their early game until that lane swap happened. That lane swap reset. Solafide still obviously maintained a pretty dominant position in the game, but that was around team fighting and dragons. Things TSM, hear me out, would have a better time at if they played more towards their bottom lane and Cody-san.
Former LCS 80 carry and Worlds contender Cody-san might be a good person to play to. That is my thoughts on the matter.
Man, you and me, man, really analytical powerhouses.
Takes so cold I had to thaw them.
Takes so cold they had to be in the microwave for 4 minutes.
Oh man, that would make them hot takes though, TJ. I think.
Nah, they're just kind of lukewarm, and in the middle it's still frozen a little bit.
Never mind. We should talk about other takes. That's a gross take.
Dokla on the top side is struggling at the start of this lane again. Here's a hot take. Sion wins early lane.
Yeah, but also Dokla's really sick at this Gragas. We've seen him defy ganks to a really disturbing degree.
And that was the undercurrent of game number 1, was that all of TSM's attempted ganks kind of went awry. I don't want to put too much of a fine point on it, but Babip is one of, I think, the most hyped players coming out of Oceania. He came out of the OPL from Legacy, where he was really darn good, and hasn't been able to find his form here on TSM. So I'm hoping to see the younger player, still has plenty of time left in his career. I'm hoping to see him kind of recover over the course of proving grounds here. I want to see the Babip of Legacy.
Ooh, that's
Show me the Trundle. That's my call for Game 3.
I don't know about that, Chief.
Show me the Trundle.
I don't want to see any Trundle, and I do not think it would be particularly good into the drafts that Solafide are taking.
Yeah, no, it would not, unless it was Babip's Trundle. So far, everything has been pretty safe. Babip's like, wait, there are supposed to be raptors here.
You cannot convince me that was not done for the benefit of the camera. You cannot convince me that little back and forth hop for a few seconds was not just to make me laugh, because it worked.
Winston has him on timer. Babip did get the raptor camp. Winston challenged for him. Will drift now towards the mid lane, where Sword is going to have to walk away. Did get hit by 2 throwing axes, but that affects you less than you would think, man.
When you're a tree. I think that's... No, that'd be more effective. Never mind. Fizzy, left alone in lane. Just really defensively there. Initially, it
He's
was like
like,
making sure Cody-san's back wasn't stopped, but then kind of was feeling himself. I was like, don't worry, I got this. 1v2, come at me, come on.
Square up, Zazel.
And Zazel is, even more confusingly, but it's again
Both these supports have no, like, Fizzy has no mana. He's walking forward.
I mean,
We'll
it's
eventually back.
Both supports are just trying to defend their AD carries in the back and then flex afterwards. But I would have liked to see the support 1v1. It would serve no purpose other than entertainment, but I think that's worth it.
It is to us. That's why we're not taking to the Rift today. Much slower than game number 1. Game number 1 was punctuated during this early game by Solafide grabbing this Drake pretty much as soon as it came up. That doesn't seem to be their plan this time. They, of course, don't have a massive advantage on the bottom side of their map this time, which may affect that decision-making.
Ooh. Both junglers headed towards the Drake at this point, and Babib has level 6 as well.
Yeah, they'll need to make this bot lane happen in some way, shape, or form. Zap does go wide. With Apollo not slowed, Sword doesn't have a proper way to engage. There is a majority here for TSM, as Tuesday is still choosing to linger there in the middle of the map, but TSM will not start the Drake itself. They drift instead back to lane. Sword has CS to catch up on.
I really thought they were going to go for the Drake. I was like, finally, TSM go for an early dragon. They're changing it up. They just want to keep with the tried and true. I respect that. It's also really dangerous to go for the Drake right there. I am wondering when it will be taken up, of course, because that will delay the potential soul win condition. Something I always like to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I think it is, like Solaf, I think it is worth talking about, especially after game number 1, that Solafide have consistently lost to teams that are willing to out-teamfight them in the late game. And that was something that very nearly felt like it was bringing TSM back into this, especially when you start talking about Azir and Jinx in game number 2. If we go late, if we go 40 minutes again, I think I favor them more than I did in game 1.
Yeah. I think, especially with the Jinx, this is really, hey, if we go late, no worries. You've got Jinx, Azir, and both of them have the potential to be supported in these team fights. Last game, that potential wasn't realized, but that doesn't mean that TSM haven't learned from their mistakes.
Man. Do it, Dokla.
Go all in.
He's not
hey, look,
winning
8
in
minutes.
CS.
It's the Herald, TJ, for TSM.
Yep. He's not winning in CS this time again. Around this mark, Hanser is winning that top side on Sion. Worth noting for any top laners wondering if they can get away with Sion. The answer appears to be yes during the early game. As that Rift Herald will be scooped up. TSM able to secure it uncontested, and Solafide don't trade it for a Drake. Instead, Zazel's off chasing Fizzy, so a much better start for TSM.
Yeah, I am wondering what the plan was there for Solafide, because now there's time to contest potentially this first Drake.
This is warded, though. That pink ward at the back of the pit should be spotted by Solafide. They are very sure nobody's going to try and steal it, though, and will secure it without clearing that ward.
To be fair, they're very right, but I agree that it could be potentially risky.
Here comes Babib in. Stun will land. Babib comes through. Dokla's just dead. No! He manages to... No, flash in from Hortzer will secure it. He manages to get away with the explosive cast flash combo, which is one of the cleanest Gragas plays I've ever seen. And Hanser has had quite enough of that. Will flash in, execute him with an auto, and get a lot of turret plates. This is going to be a dead turret. This is going to be a dead tier 1.
Almost certainly. They need another wave in order to make the Herald straight up kill the tower, though. Hey, look.
There it is.
Another wave.
Oh, they're not. They're not summoning it. Okay. Rift Herald won't come through. Normally, this is what TSM do. Normally, they put a lot of resources topside, invest the Herald. Instead, they're sitting on that Herald and TPing down to the bot lane where Cody-san is starting off a scrap.
Zazel finds the disengage. I don't know if they want to go in for that, but oh my god, Fizzy gets exploded.
There is no more Braum on the Rift. And as a result, TSM will back away. Let's take another look at that first blood. Man, this was such a good near escape from Dokla. Check this out. Waits till all the mobility and stuns are spent, tosses the cask on top of himself, flashes away, throws down the barrel behind him to slow, and if Hanser doesn't execute that perfectly, he would have gotten away. He was already reading the play. You could see him pathing back away from the turret. Dokla was on top of the ball.
That's what I was going to mention. You already saw Dokla moving away from the flash he thought was coming. Unfortunately, legs a little bit too short, no boots. That wouldn't have saved him, though. 100%. But he played it about as well as he could have, which is the theme of watching Dokla in the top lane being dove over and over again. It's like, wow, if that had been any other situation than the one he was in, Dokla would have lived there.
Dokla has had a really good upward swing across this season as well. Had a rough start to it. No two ways about that, but as we've continued, he's done nothing but pick up steam. His worst performances, his more coin-flippy performances have become rarer and rarer. And now he's been very capable towards the latter half as Sword misses and execute here in mid. Playing supportive.
Maybe not missing enough.
Shockwave. Underneath the turret, Tuesday will go down. Babbitt's going to be focused down. Winston cannot stay here. And yet he has, meaning he's going to need to burn a flash to survive. Here's that Rift Herald. All of TSM are here, including a Jinx rocket.
Zeyzal going to be able to knock Haunter under the tower there. Damage is the backup, but Fizzy trying to find some kind of return. The re-engage is in onto Winston. Zeyzal low, flashes out, finds a knock-up onto one, but it's only going to find the Scion. Zeyzal shortly dies to Sword. This is such a better game from TSM.
Yeah, at some point we need to just stop framing it as game one, as TSM have now earned out a 2,000 gold lead and are looking pretty dominant here in game number 2. Here is that mid. Tuesday able to flash away from the first engage attempt. And Hanser's like, that's my cue.
I really thought this was going to go a lot better for Solafide than it did as soon as I saw Tuesday into that tower. But the Shockwave didn't find anyone, then the engage from Winston. From here, like, Zeyzal, there's nothing he can do to save this play. Right? There's no way you actually turn this into a victory. And then the dive in from Fizzy secures it with that Glacial Fissure and just stuns up immediately onto Winston. Zeyzal left alone in their tower.
Poor Zeyzal.
Sad times.
Desperate attempt to defend that turret will not pay off. It does live on a sliver of HP, but that turret will be collected in a moment, surely. Solafide also did not claim the top lane turret they were gunning for, meaning that Hanser may be about to get the first turret of the game. Dokla will step up to deny that. Oh, what a good cask.
Not going to be able to find a whole lot more damage, though. Dokla just does not have any to speak of. Hanser finds a plate regardless. Just shoving down between the towers. Completely unconcerned by this.
Yeah, and I think Dokla, you say he doesn't have a lot of damage. It may add up here if we keep going. Hanser has just spent his full cycle, so Dokla ran the second time, can interrupt, and this should be the kill. Takes time, but so do all good things in life, Matt.
What a wild top lane 1v1.
We've got a replay? Okay, no, this was the other pick that happened during this time. Babbitt getting stunned up, Tuesday playing safe behind it. Shockwave in, Tuesday's pretty darn good. So, Solafide find 2 consecutive kills across the map, and do successfully, despite a hair-raising attempt there by Cody-san, secure themselves the second Drake of the game.
It wasn't Cody-san, it was Apollo throwing in the
Okay,
Q, I
good.
guess, for extra damage.
That
And
looked-
taking it.
My feed's a little low quality, and I thought that was the zap out of
Yeah,
Cody-san.
it looked like it, and then I looked at the feed and I was like, Apollo got it. Oh. You know, I like this. You're giving the extra 25 gold to your AD carry. That's
a
playing
good,
through
you know what
bot
that
lane,
is?
baby.
That's good tech, yeah. Apollo down here in the bottom lane with that extra 25 gold, Matt. Has crested his first item.
He's rich.
Hey, if you said, TJ, do you want 25 bucks? I'd say yes.
Me too. No strings attached. You just got to shoot an arrow at a dragon. Oh, that is a string.
Yeah. Bowstring. Here comes Winston round the side as he will back away. There it is. First turret of the game over to Solafide. And just as we praised TSM for a good start to their game, Solafide do get, by a matter of seconds, the first turret bonus, and that will bring the gold lead back within the hundreds.
That was so good. Beautiful play there by Solafide. Of course, the second turret is going to follow very shortly there for TSM. They still have the Rift Herald in the pocket of Babip. So there's the potential there to knock down the bottom lane tower, but you would have to commit a lot.
Yeah, that was the second Herald they picked up. I don't believe we called it on camera, but we did tell you that TSM do prioritize those Heralds, and that is, if nothing else, a continuation of that. TSM Academy maybe heard us fantasizing about all the Academy teams being knocked down by amateur teams, and have played this game pretty cleanly so far. So let's talk about where things could go wrong, Matt. I'm looking at the Dragons right now.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the team fights.
This is how TSM like to play around the Dragons. The first two, not very high priority. Usually, third Drake comes up, TSM are on it immediately. And they want to scrap for it. They want to secure it because they know as soon as the opponent's on Soul Point, that gives a ton of pressure around that fourth Drake. They don't want to grant them that opportunity.
Yeah,
the problem then becomes if they either mess that one up or the following one, because then you're on Soul Point anyways.
I had a fun stat I was citing during the pregame. Across their 9 Academy games, TSM Academy have only ever gotten Dragon Soul once. That was versus Golden Guardians Academy, currently the bottom team in Academy. Not to dunk too hard on GGA, but TSM were expected to win that one.
It's usually because when TSM are going to win the game, because they give up that first 2 dragons, they win the game before Soul's on the field. And if Soul ever ends up on the field, it's probably because TSM weren't able to close the game fast enough, as we saw in game number 1. So this really is just my personal barometer of how well TSM are doing, is if Solafide are going to get this third Drake.
Yeah. There is a Rift Herald to be summoned here. Solafide playing defensive around it, because if this turret goes down, it's real easy to fight that Drake, and this turret does seem to be going down. Zeyzal in for the contest, though.
Find the knockup. Babip forced out of there. TP coming in as well. Dokla looks for the re-engage. Cast Cody-san out. Unfortunately, Shockwave lands, though, onto Fizzy. Forced out of the fight, taken down by Tuesday.
Babip will be able to escape through the jungle. That is all Solafide will get back. Their turret does survive. It comes across as a win overall, but it will not be enough to secure this Drake. You were mentioning, Matt, a few seconds ago that the later games go, the better things are for the team playing against TSM. The stat to back that up is TSM don't win any games that go longer than like the 30-35 minute mark this season. All 3 of their wins were under that. I think their shortest time was 33 minutes. So something to keep your eye on as Sword gets bullied in mid lane.
Just laughing at Apollo casually stopping the back there with the Q. Vars did get buffed this patch, if I recall correctly, with his W scaling increased.
Yeah, so it's certainly a viable pick. Watch out for that chain of corruption. It's always the marker here as we get into these team fights.
This is a rough fight for Solafide.
Yeah, they're weirdly split.
Ragnarok's been forced out. There's the engage in
Sword.
from Sword. Finds the knockup over the wall from Haunter. The flash over from Zeyzal will not save him. Dokla trying to stall out of the bottom side of the fight, but they're just split. The rest of Solafide aren't doing anything. And Apollo and Winston forced off the Drake.
Solafide in 2 distinct groups, and much like the teenagers in a horror movie, splitting up to search for clues did not result in what they were hoping for. This is going to be the Drake over. That third Drake you put so much importance on, picked up by TSM. As Sword really benefits from the split focus, he's able to weave between the 2 groups, and just a really pretty combo. Past Dokla and Tuesday over to Haunter's already charged Q.
Just zoinks, TJ. That fight was real rough for Solafide. And it started off rough. It wasn't that TSM were playing fantastically like they did, but look at this positioning coming in from Solafide. There's no way this becomes a winning fight.
Oh,
Sword goes in on the two people in the Dragon Pit, haunts over the wall with a knockout. That's the end of the fight, right there.
That's real pretty. Yeah, and there's just no way for Solafide to recollect. Sword benefiting massively from the split, also picking up, I don't believe, credit for both those kills, but credit for 2 of them. Really good plays. Sword, of course, started playing for TSM when he was 16 years old on TSM Junior. So this is the first season he's been eligible to play competitive, and this is the first season he has played in any tournament of any kind. And it's been a somewhat disappointing season, I think, for how hyped he was in Academy. So, like much of this TSM roster that looks so good on paper, I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do once this team finds their feet. Here's the Baron Rush.
Already, I assume, somewhere near half health. Solafide trying to find their way out, but TSM just turn, force the Ragnarok,
ult misses.
out Zazel with a good engage.
Apollo misses ult. Around the side, Dokla's badly split. Solafide, this fight's just over. Tuesday's they'll just rock a middle of a shockwave to try and escape, but there's no damage left. Apollo's 1 HP. He'll fall as well. They are all dead. There is no way back into this as Sword continues to chase. Maybe a little short on the Emperor's Divide, but that's just the cue to return to the Baron Pit.
Theoretically, there's the potential of a steal from Solafide, but I don't think TSM are going to be too scared of that. No flash on Winston. Take the blast plant over. That is the only way it gets stolen out from under you, in theory.
Yep. Fizzy does exactly that. There is also no vision on the pit. The reason they're being so careful is because TSM did lose a number of Barons to steals yesterday. This will not be one of them, and indeed, they looked under their Baron mat and they found a little present.
I wish someone would give me a Dokla for Christmas.
I wish someone would give me a Dokla for Christmas as well. Look at Apollo missing that chain of corruption. Real rough. And the second that happens, I just don't know how you win this fight.
No, and Apollo
Sword and Cody-san are so far behind their front line, which is far cry from last game where they weren't able to contribute to these fights because the front line was behind them. Now they're able to participate freely. The front line soaks up the damage. Even if that chain of corruption had landed, it would have been onto one of the tankier members of this team. Sword and Cody-san are able, within time, to just walk forward and say, Apollo, you don't have an ult. There's no way to lock us down. There's no way to gain access to us. We can just rain in our damage.
Yeah, and then Babbitt just flashes over the wall onto him. That's how you know the fight's just lost at that point.
So, here we go. Baron in hand. TSM running it down mid with the Baron. Running it down has a negative connotation. That's not what I meant to imply, Matt. TP behind.
TJ.
Dokla. Oh, big cask.
Able to find the initiation there, but Cody-san safe on the right side of the fight. Shockwave going to go a little bit wide in the middle of the fight there. Fizzy goes down. Sword finds a beautiful knockback there. The Ragnaroking Olaf forced out of the fight. Dokla at the bottom trying to 1v1 the AD carry. Both fights go very poorly for the side of Solafide as TSMA very cleanly wipe out the fight.
TSM Academy will win their game-ending fight. A very clean game, too. Making me wonder if they took game number 1 a little personally as they bring these Baron-empowered minions into the base, into the nexus of Solafide, and drive us all the way to a game 3 in this series.
Cody-san still doesn't have the call finished. I just want to clarify for everyone, if they're wondering where in the game state we are, 24 minutes. 2 inhibitors already taken down by the side of TSM.
And they won't quite be able to finish things here, but it does not look good with 7,000 in the bank as the difference between TSM and Solafide.
Yeah.
I feel very confident starting to talk about game number 3, which is where we are presumably headed. Solafide will make a last-ditch effort. They want to see if they can contest this Drake. The answer, Matt, will shock you.
No.
It is, in fact, no.
Okay. Shockwave goes a little bit wide there. Haunter knocked up. Fizzy not able to find the counter engage, but just look at Cody-san.
Oh dear.
Finally knocked into the back. That's actually a dead Cody-san now, but Sword is still up for the time being. Dokla wants to fix that, though.
What is this?
Does successfully. Solafide start turning the fight, and Haunter forced to back. as Fizzy will finally fall. Called that one
Sword
a
tried to
little bit early.
1v1 the Alistair. Even if that works, it doesn't work. He dives in, Emperor's Divide the Alistair into the front lines. And Solafide just get handed a fight. Back of some great engage from Dokla, and seems not so great engage from several members of TSM. That shockwave goes wide. This fight should be over, but Hanser's way too far forward. So Fizzy jumps in to contest. And then that's a big cast. That slows things down. Tuesday flashes over the wall. I apologize to Sword. That makes more sense now as Tuesday is able to successfully get away, but Sword again forced to do this thing where he deep dives into the backlines to try and make a fight work. And the second you see that, you know TSM have lost everything. That is astonishing stuff.
That entire fight was just a Dokla angle, TJ. It was Dokla finding the cask onto Cody Sun. It was Dokla finding the engage over the wall onto Sword to get the kill there. If it weren't for Dokla, that fight would have been over. Solafide would have been over. As it stands, though, 4K gold lead still for TSM Academy, but Solafide are back with a fighting chance.
Okay, TSM. Hard engage on Winston. He'll be locked down. Will pop the Ragnarok a little late, but will get away. Disappointing for him. He was trying to see if he could get out without using ulti. Wasn't able to do so. Now the stuns come through. This is Dokla in trouble. Chain of Corruption will land, but Dokla's already so low. He survives? No, Sword finds the kill.
Shockwave not going to find anyone. Fizzy looking in for the re-engage, but likewise unsuccessful. TSM have found a 1-4-0 trade. They're going to be pushing in with double inhibitors open in the side of Solafide's base. This could be the ending push.
Yes, TSM don't know what just happened in the jungle. They're not terribly interested in examining it, though. I don't think they can end here, though. Winston poking in. Fizzy's now terribly low. And Winston keeps going. This is too far. We'll have to flash away. Sword for the chase. Into the base. He's gone. Zeyzal finds the stun up. Cody Sun will shut down Winston, but it's a 1-for-1 trade. And Solafide take that any day of the week. This Sword yet again feels pressured to dive the backlines, and it doesn't go well.
It doesn't, but the important thing at the end of the day for these fights, look at Cody Sun. Still, 5-1-5 on this Jinx. Despite that fight not going great for them, there's no way Solafide can push any of these fights further unless they have a way to get onto Cody Sun. As soon as Dokla's kit is expended, as we saw the cask was used to disengage, body slam used earlier on in the fight, no flash up. There's no chance for Solafide in those fights, and that's the big concern right now for the team in red.
Zeyzal to set things up. Tuesday at the back. Apollo actually doing huge damage here. Babab needs to just bail. Now that Apollo's here, this gets dangerous. Zeyzal still on the front line. Here comes Cody Sun. He will respond in kind. Zeyzal needs to back away. Hanser so far forward. Has a lot of shield. Is taking all this damage. Zeyzal goes down first. The first tag to fall. But all these TSM members are low. And that makes things scary. As Tuesday finds the kill. It's run in. Winston runs in the damage on the orb. And here turn TSM. They say they think they've won this fight enough to just pick up the Baron. There is vision on this. Winston's over the wall, does have a blast cone, Matt.
I agree with TSM's decision to back off. That was looking to be a really inadvisable fight.
Check out how much damage Apollo is doing now. This is real scary.
Well, and multiple times there's people who are just 1 HP in the back of these fights thanks to Apollo.
Yeah, Apollo does a really good job of denying Hanser, who really wants to get in on him. Zeyzal playing great. Cody Sun will find the execute. Sword sits at the back of this fight and just throws in some soldiers, finds a lot of damage, and I will credit that with part of the turn here. You can see him doing a significant chunk, even though he showed up a little late. Cody Sun and Tuesday dueling for the most amount of damage in that fight, though, as the Baron will resume. Fizzy is zoning, Blast Cone is gone. TP will be coming in, Solafide know what's up. Low HP, 3,000, 2,000, 1,000. Baron secure, TSM Academy.
Shockwave goes in. Zeyzal follows the cask onto Cody Sun, finds him at the side of the fight, but he is still alive down bottom. Hanser finally falls as Winston runs away. Solafide are in a little bit of trouble. They won't be able to find anything but Hanser in the entire fight while losing the Baron.
Okay. So, TSM do manage to get the Baron and get away with it. The Azir showing up. Sword is having really a fantastic series. I don't want to highlight too much those mistakes that did happen on the engage, because I don't think they were entirely him. And he shows that yet again in that fight. Again, being able to zone back a lot of the pressure. Solafide turn here for the Drake Soul.
They should be able to secure it. They're keeping everyone zoned incredibly efficiently. And there you go. Solafide take the Mountain Soul for the second game in a row. Question is if they can stall, but everyone is trying to pincer them from TSM.
They need to win a fight to get out of this. Babib zoning. Deep dive from Hanser, already inside the backlines. Winston will have to 1v1 him just to stay alive. Tuesday's cutting around the side. Zeyzal in, sword, huge ulti, separates everyone. Winston manages to shut him down instantly and trade though. And you gotta watch this backline where Tuesday is still alive. Chased by Hanser. Winston zoning, Zeyzal zoning. Cody Sun through though, a huge rocket, and Cody Sun's found the kills they need. With the aid of sword sacrifice yet again, TSM have won a massive team fight. They have the Baron. They can end this game.
It's no surprise to anyone, TJ, that Cody Sun remains the key for this team. Tuesday tries to find damage onto Babip. Not quite, Tuesday.
And Babip can turn right back round. He can keep harassing Tuesday, stop the back, whilst Cody Sun burns through the base. They will not go for the end.
I think they would have been able to.
The respawns are coming through.
It is a safer play to not go for it.
Yeah. Check out this fight.
This is the initial engage that kind of sets the tone of the fight. You get Apollo knocked away immediately by the Emperor's Divide, and from there, there's no way to get onto Cody Sun. You look at him now on the left side of your screen, and he is just pumping out damage. It really doesn't matter what the rest of Solafide are doing. Sure, Tuesday was pumping out damage, but the front line of TSM is not the threat. It's Cody Sun, who was left completely unattacked during that fight.
And once you have that initial burst of engage from Sword, from Hanser, you know, everyone's at around half HP. That's a field day for Cody Sun, especially when the frontline team fight that TSM wants to go for, or sorry, the Solafide wants to go for, TSM as well, to be fair, has just been shattered by Sword's engage. That's what's working out when things go well. Is Sword is separating the fight, and Cody Sun can just walk through the ruins. Now though, TSM do not have the Baron, and they need to win a 5v5 team fight. Solafide do have their base cracked open. They are at a pretty significant gold deficit. However, they have the Mountain Soul, which mitigates at least some of it. And they've looked real scary these last few team fights.
Apollo just doesn't have the damage, it feels like, and keeps getting separated by Sword. That's what's going to be the make or break point of this next fight.
Dive in. Low HP. Oh, Babbitt barely survives. Shockwave finds nobody from Tuesday. That's worth noting. Inhibitor will fall. Solafide to stay alive as 5. TSM as well.
TSM still pushing forward. Almost unstoppable here. Double inhibitor still down. Solafide, really, it's going to be another 3 minutes of this. This is even without the Baron buff. That's going to be coming up in 1:45. TSM can easily take that, stall this one out as long as they want to, because they have the advantage. They have the scaling game on lock as well. As long as Cody Sun lives, so do TSM.
And we have this double threat. We talked about this during the draft from TSM Academy of Cody Sun and Sword. And it does feel like the fights they're winning here in this game too are the ones where that double threat is allowed to operate. And operate with impunity, especially in the case of Cody Sun. And we have seen so many of those fights during the early and mid-game go TSM's way because they have Cody Sun free firing, because they have big engage from Sword that can be set up for by their solid frontline. And that is what makes the fact that Zeyzal and Tuesday didn't land their own big engage spells between the Shockwave and, of course, Zeyzal's full Headbutt Pulverize combo so impactful in that team fight just now. The second you see Zeyzal not be able to get too far in, the second you see Tuesday not be able to land his Shockwave, you're looking at Solafide and you're saying, okay, they aren't going to be able to hold this inhibitor.
Mm-hmm. That's really the concern coming up. This is not even a matter of holding the inhibitor so much as it is stopping TSM from getting in the base in any way. Because there are 3 means of ingress here for the side of TSM. They could just run through bot. They could just run through mid with those waves and push further. But they want to go for every single objective, take it as cleanly as possible. And remember, Baron's up in 15, so they can even turn on to that.
20 seconds? No. 15, did you say? I logged it in my head. I was like, all right, 20 seconds till Baron. And then I didn't look back. It has been, Matt. I would like to update you. 20 seconds. The Baron is now up.
Oh, neat. No, the Elder's coming up in 45. This could force an interesting trade if Solafide can stall this out.
Oh my god. Matt, you said 45 seconds ahead of time? So that by the time you finished the point, it was 45 seconds? Oh my god.
I got you today, DJ.
He's so good. Babbitt for the stun up. Solafide turning towards this Baron. It's getting focused right now by Sword, using that Azir. TPs will come in. Haunter and Sword have the Baron around top, but they won't be able to fight for it, and the Baron is just reset.
Good work by Solafide. They've stalled out the Baron for a little bit. This does make the potential for that Elder trade, because it's coming up really quickly. It looks like Solafide want to force it as much as possible.
Super minions are in their base. They need to get something and get out. They cannot afford to back here, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to force a fight now. Otherwise, there's... Oh no, they're in Hib respawns. That'll buy them time. Oh, TP to the super minions.
Uh-oh.
Double TP. Sword and Haunter both into the base, threatening. We've seen this gambit before. Solafide will respond with their own TPs. Tuesday there, already in the fight. Babip is gone, though. That means this Elder is wide open. Fizzy will need to back away. Haunter and Sword can't stay for this fight. It's all about this. Apollo finding damage. Frontline from Dokla is huge. Cody's son does not go down. Fizzy able to keep him alive.
The front line's huge, but there's no backline access. Finally, Zazel will come in to help out Tuesday. They find one answer kill there onto Babip. Now, Solafide try and turn for the Elder, but Cody's son's still up. He's still here, guys.
And Winston, their jungler, with the smite, has so low HP. Dokla in, finds the stun onto Cody's son. Will flash over the wall and find damage with Fizzy down. He needs to win this 1v3, and Cody's son will try, but he can't do it. Solafide, after an entire game on the back foot, are about to get the Elder Dragon.
Apollo stays safe, goes golden to the last instant as that auto comes out from Cody's son. And while that auto is reloading, everyone else from Solafide comes in, takes the kill. Now they go for the Elder. They can turn this into a Baron. Solafide have the potential to turn this series into a 2-0.
2-0 for Solafide after TSM Academy had it wrapped up in the bag. After TSM Academy had the inhibitors down and a 7-8k gold lead, we may see a turn. Baron picked up, Elder picked up, Solafide in control of this game at the 38-minute mark.
In control, but not for long. That is the concern here for Solafide. They have 2 minutes with which to use their double buffs to push it down into the base of TSM to find anything substantial to get their feet back in the game. Otherwise, TSM are going to continue doing what they've been doing all game. Rely on Cody's son in that backline to rip apart team fights. And they've been able to do that with no contention until that Elder Drake fight.
We need to see TSM, I think, overcome their sloppy late game team fights, because I'm seeing them happen again, man. I understand why they wanted to TP to that super minion wave in base, threaten something, but they didn't have to. They had super minions there. That inhibitor was going to fall again. If they had just kept poking and prodding, I think it would have been a much safer choice, given their team composition.
To be fair to TSM, this game time's incredibly long. I'm sure neither team is used to playing games that go this late.
Here comes Solafide. 14 minutes on the clock. First inhibs of the game for TSM Academy are now down.
Dokla on solo defense duty against Haunter, doing a pretty good job there. Solafide, if they can find an engage here, kind of just win. That's the threat here for TSM. They have to wait out another 35 seconds. So Solafide, I would love to see an engage come in from Zeyzal and force a fight here.
With this Elder, it's just impossible for TSM to stand up on the fight, but they do have enough zoning. They can kill these minion waves, stop Solafide from ending. Matt, 40 minutes, 2 games in a row. This is an 80-minute series now.
In game 2, still going. This is not over by any means. It's 50 seconds left on the Baron buff. Elder fell off exactly a second ago. So now, Solafide no longer have that massive teamfight advantage they were leveraging to push this far.
The gold lead has swapped, but it's not measurable yet. Here's Hauntzer in for the front lines.
There's the re-engage from Dokla, trying to find damage onto Hauntzer, forced him down to half at this point, but Cody's son, safe in the back line, GA still up.
Hauntzer continuing to push front lines, Solafide will back away. 41 minutes on the clock, and Solafide are not able to end the game. They have entirely flipped the power dynamics. They will be able to back and invest that gold they just got from those massive pushes. And this is anyone's game now.
It is, I will say, harder for Solafide. Just because of the nature of these team fights. That Jinx is firing away from massive amounts of range, has a GA. It is going to be near impossible to get access onto that backline.
Look at that! Yeah. Good lord.
What was that peak? Something like an 8,000 gold lead?
And it is worth noting, it was 35 minutes of straight winning for TSM. And they muck up that one fight. If you look at the chart,
TJ, it's like 39.
They muck up that one fight in the jungle and just have never managed to quite put Solafide away.
That is the strength of Solafide so far in this series. You know, that is literally how they won game number 1, is TSM were looking real good, then Solafide turned to fight. And from there, they were able to snowball it out into their own victory. In game 2, they're looking to find the same style of victory.
Solafide sitting in their mid lane, resetting. There's no objectives on the map to fight for. That will change in a minute 20 when the Elder comes up. There are exposed inhibitors on both sides. I guess I'm technically have a tower lead, but of course the super minions will be pushing in the bottom lane this whole time, so it's not really an advantage.
They're looking for a pick on Hauntzer and Cody here.
Fizzy nearby as well. I think that will mean, especially as Babip rotates in. But Solafide can't win this fight. In fact, they're awakening to. But Zeyzal decides to go in. TPs, Zeyzal on the front lines. Winston round the side. Babip will be caught out. Fizzy is already gone. Apollo fighting so much damage. Sword with the backline dive. Finds a big Emperor's Drive. But Apollo is able to shut him down again. And TSM are losing the fight, Matt.
Cody's son still alive in the backline, but Hauntzer's not. Sword's not. Fizzy's not. And look at Winston doing a beautiful job of just stalling out while the rest of the team cleans up. Sure, Winston will likely fall here, but if Apollo gets here in time, they may be able to find the shutdown. Tuesday coming around from the side. It's just Babip and Cody from this point on. Dokla's in with the cast. Cody's forced to the side. Shockwave! Cody's into the GA, and this is surely the fight for Solafide as the shutdown comes through.
Tuesday, time and time again, manages to turn these fights, and he is going to TP into the mid lane for one last duel versus Babip. Try as you might, TSM's jungler will have to run away. He's going to charge, just cutting the way of as best he can, but the Elder is being taken during this time.
It's the second Elder, TJ, which is, like, by design, the literal design doc Riot published for second Elder. Oh my god, Zeyzal. Was that this should end the game. The presence of second Elder on a team should be game ending. And we are at 44 minutes, we are at that point, and we're going to have the Baron buff on top of it.
Yeah, Solafide will get both buffs. I think this is it. I think this is our second Academy team here in the Proving Grounds getting knocked down to the lower bracket. And Solafide, it hasn't been pretty. It hasn't been clean, but they have done it.
It sure hasn't, TJ. But Solafide, like you said, they're doing it nonetheless. They found a gold lead now, 6K up, as they push in for what could be the final push of a 45-minute game.
Zazel round the side. Turret will fall. Hanser in trouble, will kite away. The inhibitors are gone. A dive in from Hanser. Yes, a lot of HP, but not enough to stand up to the Elder. He's gonna vanish. Solafide in for the shove. A backline dive from Hanser in his corpse form will find significantly more damage, and that actually slows things down. But the big carries are still alive. Apollo and Tuesday still shoving in, taking inhibitor after inhibitor.
Apollo's low, but has finally healed up. There's the shot from
misses!
Tuesday after the flash. Not going to find anyone. Cody's son kiting away as best they can.
Sword
but
finds
not going to be able to find the kill. The Elder finds an assassination in the backside of the base.
Sword in trouble. Did get a kill, though. Solafide are going to back away.
I don't think they have a choice. There's 30 seconds left on the Elder buff. They don't have waves coming in from anywhere else. And against all odds, TSM have remained in this game.
I do not believe it. Tuesday flashes forward to find a shockwave. It goes wide, and the entire team fight just spirals from there. Cody, Sun, and Sword, again, the absolute heroes of this game, are able to save the day. I will contest, I think Solafide could have absolutely kept going there. I think they could have gone for the fight. But they don't want to risk it, not against Sword and Cody's son.
Especially without the engage from Dokla, because that's really the hope they have of getting onto that backline. Once the shockwave whiffed, once the cask was not able to find Cody's son, that's the end of the fight in Solafide's mind, and it's understandable why that's the case. Cody's son is the main damage threat here. This has been the way TSM have stayed in the game for 47 minutes and counting, all through the AD carry. The moment Cody goes down, that is the end of the game, and TSM know it.
So we got 4 minutes until anything happens again?
Maybe? Like, everyone's 6 items except the supports and junglers.
This is, beautiful, Hanser. Great stuff. Okay, Solafide do have the Baron for 10 more seconds. We'll see if they really try to do something with the waves they'll position. They can just go for the fight. Not wait for the next buffs. And that's what they'll do.
Rockets are hurting, though. That's what they're afraid of. Have help on the inhib, but they can't push any further. Jinx just keeps them out.
They can't find anything. The wave will respawn. They're going to stay in it. Solafide is still hovering. Oh, the Azir turret. That's just it. Solafide can't shove this, surely. Dokla will keep poking. Winston will keep poking. We're going to have super minions in mid eventually. Give it another couple of seconds. And so they will linger.
This team was not meant to siege here for Solafide, but they will find the turret nonetheless.
Yep. And keep going. Cody's son and Sword are poking. The inhibitor will finally fall. Dokla's slowed. He'll get away. They get the inhib. They get out. Matt, name a conversation topic for a minute 25.
I got this really cute bag. It's not a bag. It's a little fish you can see in the webcam right now.
Oh, I see. It's like a handbag.
Yeah, but it opens up and becomes a reusable grocery bag. And I think that's really neat.
You know what's neat, Matt? Reusable grocery bags.
It is. Recently
Saving
passed
the
an ordinance in my state that says any non-reusable ones come with a fee of like 20 cents or something. So
Yeah, I think that's true in most states these days.
come in handy.
Hey, that filled some time. 50 seconds on this Elder Drake. Well, third Elder. What did the design docs say about that, Matt?
I don't know! They weren't supposed to get this far!
50 minutes into game. TSM are still in it. This is still anyone's game. They need to force the fight, though, because they have an open base.
Dokla has forced the flash. Apollo just pounding away at Fizzy. There goes the support from TSM Academy. The chase is on to Babip. And now Haunter playing frontline very effectively. Ultimate goes in, but I don't think that was the right choice. Because look, Cody's son has fallen! TJ, the fight is breaking out, and Solafide may have just won a 50-minute game against TSM Academy.
Tuesday finds the shockwave, and yet again, Solafide's mid laner is the player who brought us this far, and he will be the player that finally closes things out. It does take 50 minutes. No, it is not pretty, but our second Academy team will be sent to the lower bracket as Solafide are able to step up and break the nexus of TSM Academy.
The first game went to over 40 minutes, and I thought, surely this second game is going to be shorter. Both teams have learned from this. No, they learned how to take it even further, TJ. 50-plus minutes and a 2-0 coming out from Solafide against TSM Academy. I am in shock, and honestly, I didn't think games could go that long anymore. But Solafide have proved me wrong in the most entertaining fashion imaginable.
That was entertaining is one word for it. TSM, again, were winning that game for 35 straight minutes. It wasn't even close. They were dominating.
It was like a really late game team comp, too. They had Jinx's ear.
Yes! And then Solafide just managed to win one team fight after another. Tuesday randomly decides it is Tuesday. Doesn't have a calendar. It's kind of rough for him. And win after win comes out. I do not believe it. Okay, so your updated brackets, Solafide do advance. They will be playing in the winners finals versus the winner of our second game on this broadcast, which will be Zeus Gaming versus NoOrg. That's going to happen just a little later today. Down in the lower bracket, the games you can catch over on twitch.tv/Upsurge Esports CLG Academy in our second game of the day are going to be playing versus Maryville, and yes, you did not read that wrong. Winthrop are going to get another shot at TSM at the first game of the day tomorrow. Hold on, dear Barons. It is going to be wild. We will be back next week. You won't want to miss any of those upcoming games. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to throw things over to the desk to set things up for game number 2 of today, and hopefully break down, help me understand what I just witnessed in game number 2 of this match.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We have the winning mid laner from Solafide and Tuesday. First of all, congratulations. But I have a question to ask on behalf of all the fans. What happened with taking the game so long, man? It's got the 50 minutes.
Both games were just such a... I wouldn't even say snooze fest, at least while playing. I felt like there was a lot of action going on, so they were very exhausting. But yeah, I think it was kind of par with the draft, since we both drafted, tank tops, control mage mids, late game fighting ADCs. So the game just extended. No one was taking unnecessary risks, and it was just a very long, grueling series that we came out on top. So pretty happy.
Yeah, we know that historically Solafide have been a team that is very comfortable with taking fights, if you guys get a free pass through the first 15 minutes of the game, then you're more than confident in your ability to have better decision making and shot calling throughout the team fights.
Yep.
I think one of the biggest examples was when around that first Elder Dragon spawn, TSM Academy went for a double TP spawn into your base to try and end the game. What were comms like at that point?
We were already talking about that ball wave because we were thinking about the TPs. Right when it TP'd, I TP'd right away because I felt like I had to. It was kind of like an instinct thing. And then, if I remember correctly, I completely whiffed my 8th Orianna ult of the game and something like that. So flashbacks to that. And then Zazel said he was coming in with the flank, and we kind of just, I don't know. I really don't know what was going on at the Dragon side because I just heard Winston and Dokla and everyone just screaming that they were winning. So I was focusing on my side, I was just trying to clear the minions, and then Zazel said to look at him because he had a flank on the Azir, and then we killed him. And then we eventually killed the Scion 50 minutes later in the base. So, yeah.
To kind of fill you in, Doko landed a nutty body slam flash on Cody.
Nah, that's my boy.
They isolated him. Yep. It was definitely interesting for us on the desk when Cody locked in the Jinx, because even though that is definitely much more benefiting in those late game fights if you can get the resets, but going into essentially a run back of your comp, swapping out the Varus for the Sivir, you're dealing with Gragas, Alistar, and Orianna as well. So it's almost impossible to navigate those fights without Flash. And we definitely saw, even though despite TSM Academy having the better start to that mid game, by the late game, you guys were able to capitalize on Cody Sun's positioning once the Flash was burned.
Yeah, I mean, to touch up a little bit on the comp thing, I thought it was really crazy that they just ran back the same exact comp. I think the only two things that changed were the 2 AD carries that game. So a little bit of a salty run back on the TSM side, especially because I felt like game 1 was kind of just a clinic. We really just... We took maybe 15 minutes too long to end the game, but the game was in control the whole time, in our control. And as far as the team fight goes, we were really happy that they went Jinx, because that last fight, that first game, as you guys saw, it was so hard for us to get onto this Ezreal, but the Jinx, it was a lot easier, a lot more openings with Olaf running her down, or Gragas ults, Alistar combos. So I think everyone was pretty happy actually that they went Jinx. I thought it was pretty troll that was their only adaptation from the game prior, because I think they should have, probably pivoted to a different mid pick, considering that this guy just only uses his Archie as his ear and not anything else.
Oh, so. Man. I will say, for Sword's credit, there's a couple times when the front line was isolated from the back line, so those Azir engages were good, but then other times they were not quite.
Definitely. He had some good ones. It was just comical because we kind of said it by game 2 that this only thing this guy does is look for ult angles. So I think Apollo even bought a GA because he was like, okay, this guy's just 1-for-1ing me every fight, so I'll have a GA and I'll come back. So
definitely great adaptation for your bot laner there. Before I let you go, one last question for you. Now that you guys are moving on to the winners finals, we'll see you tomorrow against the winners of No Org and Zeus Gaming. Now, unless Zeus Gaming show up, the predicted outcome for this is going to be No Org. How are you looking at your chances against that team?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's the first time we're going to play against them in
That's
competitive.
Right.
So I'm pretty excited.
Entire
I think,
Proving Ground Circuit.
Yeah, even though we lost a few games to some other amateur teams, I still believe that we're the 2 best amateur teams. So I'm excited to go up against each other. I don't really have any thought besides I'm proud that they're doing very well themselves, and I think us and No Org are probably better than half or more academy teams. So just excited to see them play, and excited to play against them in finals, hopefully.
Yeah, it's going to be a banger of a winners finals matchup. And then before I let you go, Tuesday, feel free to shout out any of your teammates or other fans or family friends that you want to give love to on you after your victory today.
Yeah, shout out to I'll start with Winston. I think Winston's been getting a lot of crap from community and a little bit from us as well. We're trying to get him to improve, and I thought he really stepped up today in the series. Definitely played better, and also, I don't know. I mean, everyone just stepped it up today. Everyone played well. It felt much more controlled than our previous games, which I always like. That's my little Oriana Azir gameplay. So the more control, the better. And besides that, I mean, shout out to all the fans and shout out to everyone who's cheering us on. And the Org, Solafide, they're great. And yeah, thanks for watching, everyone.
All right. Thank you, Tuesday, for taking some time to do the interview. Best of luck tomorrow, and we'll see you at that time.
All right.
All right, and we are back on the desk. Oh man, what a what a hell of a way to close it out on the game there. And I do unfortunately we don't have as much time to kind of wrap up this post game, as we are gonna have to get ready for our second series between Zeus Gaming and No Org. But I kind of want to open the floor up to Mike Young, and I want to get your insight after you've been able to look at TSM Academy. What seems to be the biggest flaw that is plaguing this team right now in this tournament?
I think just when they have a lead, they're a little bit afraid. They're afraid of making that next step forward. Whereas like Solafide, even from behind, you can see players like Zeyzal and the Gragas engages, the E flashes, and those clutch Oriana ultis come through. So huge respect to Solafide. I didn't have too much faith in them. I was a little bit surprised at how well they played. Honestly, I'm really impressed, and I'm kind of a Solafide fan now.
Yeah.
Oh no. Hey, look, Solafide, I'm glad that they got the 2-0. I really, like you said, Mike Young, I think it came down to a lot of just that hunger, that kind of just action to want to stay into that game, and we saw them fight back for it. They clawed back in, they were able to get themselves that console. I'm really impressed with Solafide, and I'm excited to see them in the winners fun in that winners round.
Yeah, that will do it for us for the first set. We're going to take a quick break as we get a little desk swapperoo. First of all, huge shout out to Mike Young for joining us on the set again today for the desk. We enjoyed having you again, my friend. Hopefully we get to see you again sometime in the near future. But, don't turn off that tab, folks. We're going to be right back for the second set.